All right, this is group 4 presentation. My name is Justin Schwimmer, and we'll be providing a group analysis or a case analysis for Uber. Um, Eduardo Romero is on the call, as well as Erika Smith and Zachary Swanson. So to provide a little bit of a case update, Uber originated in Paris in 2008 when Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp weren't able to get a ride. And then once they were unable to get a ride, in March of 2009, they decided to develop a smartphone app that would allow for people to simply press a button to call a ride. It wasn't until 2010 that Uber gained their first rider using the app. Through marketing and app development, Uber has become one of the largest sharing platforms in the world. So some of the challenges though that they've faced is they've faced a lot of things with the law regarding regulations, DMV regulations, employment regulations, and other worldwide issues. They've also encountered social, technological, and legal regulatory barriers. So for this presentation, we're going to provide a complete case analysis of Uber. We're going to look at Uber's business model. We're going to provide a complete SWOT analysis of Uber. We're going to provide recommendations for the company, and we're also going to provide a Gantt chart of all of our findings. So I'm going to now pass it off to Erika.
For the case analysis portion, I looked at the Uber's mission statement, which is we ignite opportunity by setting the world in motion. According to text, the mission statement basically gives clear direction, and it answers basically what the purpose of the organization is. I do believe that Uber's mission statement does cover that. They do provide several business avenues with their freight, Uber Eats, and then their ride share company as well. For their value propositions is their customers and their drivers. For the customers, it's the convenience of having Uber in 900 locations and 93 countries. The app is very simple, easy to use. You log in and basically order a ride, and within minutes you'll have a driver, and the driver will have all your information, and you'll have all the driver's information as well to ensure security and safety for both the driver and the customer. The drivers have the added value of flexibility for their hours, as well as the convenience of knowing the cost of the call or the cost of the ride prior to picking up the customer. Next slide, please. For the business model, as previously stated, Uber has several SBUs. They have their mobility, delivery, and freight. And then I looked at resources as far as their technology and their network of drivers. For technology, Uber is looking into sustainability options. They have a goal by 2040 to have 100% of their rides have zero emissions. And then I also looked at their competitors. They have several competitors, including taxi services, Grab is and Lyft. Lyft is their major competitor. It was founded in 2012 and is in 220 cities. So next slide, please. I completed a SWOT analysis. So when looking at their strengths, they have the largest ride-sharing technology. They have a strong brand recognition, and then they also do a dynamic pricing strategy. So during peak times, like your rides could be, the cost of the rides will be more, which works out great for the drivers. For their weaknesses, they had multiple scandals, dependency on the workforce, and then poor working conditions for the drivers. And then for opportunities, I looked at accountability. For accountability, which kind of means like holding the drivers more accountable and rewarding incentives for drivers that like perform well. And then driverless technology. And then threats is retention and competitors. Next slide, please. Oh.
Hi, and this is Eduardo. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the critical analysis, and um, I have to start with one of my suggestions regarding um, customer satisfaction, which is a problem that Uber is facing right now, based on the drivers. They're not very satisfied right now with Uber because they get their salaries lowered when they offer fair rates for competitive advantages. So they cut into their earnings. So my analysis and solution of that is to offer a 10% raise and also to offer no delivery fees. Now, obviously, these two solutions have their pros and cons. And the first pro that I can think of by offering a 10% raise is overall um, increase of the driver's happiness and satisfaction with the company, which is going to cause a better service over with the clients when they pick them up. I feel like the service level is going to be increased. So this is going to be really important on that aspect, just because the customers feel like obviously you want to get the best treatment for them as possible. And you also want to make sure that drivers feel appreciated and loved by the company. Having Uber driver, like I mentioned, it will increase the client satisfaction in part because of the production and quality of the job. Another pro that I can think of is just by decreasing uh, that dissatisfaction and the potential hard feelings from the Uber drivers. There's no unionizing or by them. That will decrease as well. And another pro that I can think of is offering promotional rates and fair rates without any Uber driver complaining about their salaries going down. I feel like that's going to be important, just having that raise. And even when they offer these fair rates without taking a cut into the driver's salary, this is going to be huge. And the other solution that I was thinking about is just not offering delivery fees. That will really increase the Uber's orders. So especially for orders that it's like an hour drive, when there's a long distance, those delivery fees can be really high and can increase by a lot. So that I feel like that taking away that delivery fee, it may affect in the short term the potential Uber earnings, but in the future, by having more orders down, it will increase Uber's earnings. So I feel that that is really important. And like you can see on the slide, the distance will not matter regarding delivery fees. And next slide, please.
All right, I am Zachary, and I will be speaking about the recommendations for Uber as a company. As we discussed in the SWOT analysis and critical analysis done by Erika and Eduardo, we recognize the fact that there are a lot of potential issues and weaknesses that the company has, including the scandals that have happened with different sexual assault charges, dependency on the workforce, and poor working conditions. As well, we recognize the opportunities that the company has in terms of accountability and performance that certainly based off of these weaknesses can improve. As well as where we come to our recommendation is the concept of driverless technology. Now, the ultimate goal for Uber at the end of the day is company improvement, the settling of these aforementioned issues with the company, and eventually growth leading to higher revenues and more profit for the company. That's for any company, that's the goals at the end of the day, and that's where Uber is looking to find themselves in an opportunity. Luckily for Uber, the San Francisco startup, technology has provided a currently realistic option that we as a group believe, especially as popularity and tangibility grows, could be a brilliant marketing strategy as well as a way to quell the concerns about passenger safety and driver pay. This recommendation obviously is with driverless technology. Next slide, please. While the current technology of this current day does not fully support full implementation of driverless technology, driverless cars are the future of Uber. Uber is currently investing in a partnership with a company called Motional, which is a partnership between technology expert Aptiv and vehicle manufacturing leader Hyundai Motor Group, which will be a combination between those two companies, in addition with Uber, to create driverless car technology to roll out, no pun intended, to the overall greater population of Uber users. Driverless cars will eliminate many of these unpredictable concerns of the current driving issues, including consumer satisfaction and rider safety. Though self-driving cars are not currently a sustainable or substantial piece of the ride-hailing industry, there is a pathway to them in the near future. And this is what we discussed in our Gantt chart. If we can go to the next slide, please. And I guess Gantt chart is a little bit tough to read with just the sizing of things, which you'll see on the next slide. But just discussing a couple of the notes from that piece. Firstly, the partnership and preliminary implementation of testing has already occurred, but details are slim, so the dates that are included on this Gantt chart are approximate. In this Gantt chart, we talk about 4 different phases. The first phase is the project introduction, which has already begun to an extent. There are parts that it all shows it's 100%, but there may be things such as testing processes and reconvention that has not taken place. Obviously, it's just a general guide and expectation in terms of dates. These are also based off of prior Uber projects and projections that have been made for it. The next phase is the initial rollout in phase 2, which has been seen around a number of different cities. Again, testing has been very, very quiet for Uber as a company, as they have been trying to keep a lot of this under wraps. But this includes the manufacturing process of this technology, testing, as well as trial rollouts, which have occurred. And then there's the final development and then initial implementation of phase 3, which is the realignment of the project, initial testing, more realignment, and just that constant cycle of just perfecting that concept and this idea that Uber has that will separate themselves in the ride hailing sector. One of the biggest things to note, as mentioned in the points there, is that eventually this will lead to laying off of some of the human drivers and creating that gap between public safety, where people have belief in these driverless cars in a safety sense, in addition to having confidence in the fact that, okay, there have been a lot of issues in terms of having the human drivers in a normal sense of an Uber driver. And it's time to begin to push some of that out. There could be different phases that could occur in terms of they could become a lot more rigid with the hiring process, as well as looking at current Uber drivers and maybe, transitioning some of those out of the company. And then finally is phase 4, which is obviously has some approximate dates of 2026 and 2027 and 2030, which is the full implementation of the AI-driven car fleet across the United States. And then we'll go to the next slide. That just kind of shows a general idea of the implementation. The different areas in gray show the different phases, as well as the beautifully colored chart that's there shows the different halves of each year, beginning in 2020 and ending in 2024. That is it for our presentation. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Group 4's presentation with myself, Justin, Erika, and Eduardo.